Hey, Terracer here, and I'm going to be going over the EDG versus Samsung White game. I already have a team fight breakdown, so I'm not going to be going really in depth into some of the fights, especially the fight that I already covered. Maybe I'll do breakdowns for the latter fights, but I'm not going to be doing them in the middle of this video for the purpose of just making this video, I guess, shorter. And this is probably going to be my first take, so if this is good enough, I'll just upload it directly to my channel. So first off, I want to start with picks bans. As we get into picks bans, it's just the usual bans. Yasuo's banned. That was something that EDG likes to ban because Yu isn't really a Yasuo player. Cassin and Alistar are banned. Alistar, this is a patch where Alistar is pretty broken. Rise, Twitch are banned. Twitch isn't really a ban that's good against Name, but Name plays anything, so it's whatever. Maybe Imp wasn't feeling to go Twitch himself. Then you have the Janna ban to take away the last of the kind of supportive, really supportive in meta supports. And FZZF was the first one to use Janna in this latter half of season 2. In the previous season it was Zekent, or the previous split it was Zekent, now it was FZZF, and then Gorilla brought it out. So then we had the first pick Maokai. The first pick Maokai is really good because he was OP. It's a really good first pick. And then you had the Zillion and the Kha'Zix, and this is where the draft phase gets really iffy, in my opinion, for Edward Gaming. Samsung White has a really good draft phase over here because Zillion and Kha'Zix have some kind of synergy where Kha'Zix is going to go in and Zillion can speed him up, and Kha'Zix can dive really deep if he has the Zillion onto him, so that's really good. And then EDG, they did their research and they know Mata plays an excellent Thresh, but Mata plays excellent on any champion that he gets, so EDG, I think they should have probably banned Thresh, but picking Thresh is fine. And what this does, it forces you to counter pick the Zillion. So like, there's some Zillion counter picks, whether you use Nami and you just try to out heal the Zillion, or you use something like Thresh and you try to all in. So like, there's some Zillion counter picks, and I don't like this Lucian pick. I think the meta at Worlds is going to be decided by which team gets Zillion Tristana. You cannot let a team have both. And also, I think Zed is going to be a really big contested pick here at Worlds. And I actually let this clip roll on, but what's also interesting about this draft phase is that neither team actually picks Zed, and neither team actually picks something like Orianna or Syndra, which would have been good blind picks. And Rengar and Lee are also unpicked as well. So like, Danny could have easily picked Lee, Clearlove could have easily picked Lee Sin, but Clearlove is more a Jarvan player. I don't agree with the picking of Lucian. I think you should have locked in Tristana for Name, just because if you get both Tristana and Zillion, I think that's just a combo waiting to it's pretty much insta win, because Zillion has a really solid early game, and it kind of nullifies some of Trist's early game, mid game issues after her nerfs, and then it makes a late game 4-item Trist that much better, or 6-item Trist that much better, because now the Tristana doesn't have to get a Guardian's Angel, or even if she does get a Guardian's Angel, she has 2 extra lives. So Tristana can potentially get 6 DPS items if you're including a Zephyr, or she can get 4 DPS items and have basically 2 GAs, which is super powerful on a late game Tristana, which is the hardest scaling carry besides something like Vayne or Kog'Maw. So anyways, to round out EDG's composition, they take something like oh, what happened? Oh, they still don't pick bans. So anyways, to round out EDG's team comp, they're looking to take Ori over here, and I think they would have done better with the Nunu, but they're looking at their composition. They're like, oh, we have no engage, so they decided to go with the Jarvan for Clearlove, which is all right. So it's an alright composition, but the thing is, EDG has no late game team comp. So if Samsung White hits the late game with Rumble, Tristana, and Kha'Zix, they're going to be doing more damage than EDG can put out, because if you get a couple Banshee Veils onto Samsung White's team, they're going to be able to nullify the potential engages from Thresh hooks and the shockwaves from Yu, and Yu doesn't have that much of that great of shockwaves actually in this series. So I think you would have been better off picking something like Syndra, where he's just blind pick and he can dominate Looper in the mid lane, because when he picks Orianna, he doesn't really, or not Looper, Pawn. He doesn't really dominate Pawn. He ends up just going even, which is not something that's like great against a Zillion because the Zillion's going to provide more utility than an Orianna, especially when she has a Tristana on her team. Meanwhile, Orianna doesn't have that much in terms of an AD carry. And also, I think Samsung White just rounds out their team comp over here with Nami to counterpick the Thresh. Also, I think this Lucian pick that a lot of teams are doing, Lucian and Corki, to try to counterpick this Tristana. Tristana needs to be banned, or if you're not going to first pick her. I don't think these counter picks that teams are doing is really that good because teams are just with these Lucians and Corki's teams are just going even. It's not making much sense to me. Whereas if you're doing a counter pick like that, especially in the bot lane where it's really hard to counter pick things, Tristana's going to get farm anyways, and Lucian's not leading any Tristana by like 20, 30 CS like people imagine it to. And even then, Tristana come late game, Tristana's going to get solo lane farm, and Tristana's going to do more with 3 items, and Lucian's going to do it 3 items. So doesn't make much sense to me. I think EDG doesn't play this draft as well. They could have picked Tristana instead of Lucian, forcing Samsung White to pick a different AD carry for Imp, and they also banned Twitch. So potentially, what could have come from Samsung White was a Vayne or a Kog'Maw pick, even though Kog'Maw isn't really that meta after his nerfs. Um, and also, I don't think the Orianna pick was really that good for FZZF because he just didn't show up on that champion. He should have picked something, maybe Fizz to dive Imp before he gets the Zillion onto himself, or even Pawn. Just something to dive the squishy because Samsung's white team is very, very squishy. So I don't know. I just didn't like this team comp by EDG, even though they're a Chinese team, and even though I would probably rank their team fighting a little better than Samsung White's. But it didn't matter because it got so far behind in the lane phase. So next I want to just touch on the level 1 because I thought this level 1 was super good by EDG and Samsung White, and it shows the mind games that happen. So Samsung White actually got revealed by the sapling from Koro, and what they do is they rotate Mata and Imp back down into the bot lane. So like what EDG was probably planning on Samsung White probably planning what was going to happen is for Samsung White to continue go up in the top lane and just ignore the minion damage, and they were going to go in 2v1 and hopefully get Nami a free lane and avoid the Tristana Nami lane. But instead, FZZF and Nami do go into the bot lane, and Samsung White mind gains them and goes to the bot lane as well. And this is where stylistic differences come from. Koreans really like to leash with their top laner and gimp their top laner a little bit in the early game because they give their top laner like the first or second gank. And they really let the bot lanes go and do their own thing because they like to allow their bot lanes to go and shove level 1 for the early level 2, especially with Zillion. Even though Zillion doesn't grant you the early level 2, it's still something, and you get the earlier level 3, so Samsung White will actually have lane control. And right now Name's in the lane 2v1. So this is something that is just stylistic difference that allows Samsung White to get an early lead onto EDG before like people even walk into lane, and Looper comes into lane. He doesn't miss a single thing of experience, and he ends up actually getting level 2, I think, first. Zillion does matter in top lane, bot lane not so much because the way experience is shared. So he does get the earlier level 2, and he goes all in onto Kuro, and Looper just exerts his pressure for the rest of the match. And as we go into my next point, right over here, Dandy at this point has spent like a total of 2 minutes just sitting in mid to make sure that Pawn gets out of this lane phase relatively unscathed and with relatively equal amount of CS. And if ZZF gets super outplayed over here, he actually initiates this this engage, but what happens is that Samsung White turns it back onto EDG, and they get wave control, and EDG ends up chunking. They have to burn both potions, whereas Samsung White actually has lane sustain, so EDG is going to have to all in Samsung White when they are at a higher health value, but that's impossible because Samsung White has heal reduction and a heal ability on Nami to keep themselves pretty full, and Mata, like many Koreans, runs mana regen on a Quint and some on his blues when he plays Nami, and I'm pretty sure he does do it for this series. So as we go on, also Clear Love is used to people focusing his bot lane, so he goes to gank and counter gank his bot lane a lot. Meanwhile, Dandy makes sure Pawn just gets out of the lane phase, and the Zillion experience is gonna be able to make sure that Pawn does make it out of the, or that Dandy, when he waits for just waiting in middle, he's not gonna lose out on that much experience, and in fact he's gonna out level Clear Love. So next we get into this one-on-one where Looper is actually a higher level because of the Zillion, and he's going to end up turning onto Koro, and this is really good because he understands his power spike. If you saw Looper's not rage bar but heat bar, you saw it was right over here, and Looper ends up using two abilities to put him into overheat range where he all-ins Kuro with his cooldowns, and he gets his ult off while he's kind of in the overheat range, and he starts walking forward and he's going to all in, and he overheats himself, so he's silenced, and this is a surefire kill, and Yu doesn't call missing, so Koro dies for, I want to say not for free because they do take Dragon on EDG side, but what this is Samsung White trading this dragon, which is like 200 gold on every single character for EDG, even though the support, 200 gold on the support is not going to mean much, and 200 gold onto Clear Love is not going to mean much because he's already behind. Whereas Dandy, who just got first blood, has a longsword, and they're just going to end up trading buffs over here. So Samsung White is arguably ahead because they concentrate a lot of their gold onto Dandy, who's a carry, and they put a decent amount of gold onto Looper, and they also give him XP and level advantage, and a level amounts to something like 50 or 100 gold worth of stats that like Looper has now over Kuro, and it allows Looper to exert a lot more map pressure over Kuro, especially which is really important in this meta because of teleports. So next we're gonna go to 25 over here. So right over here, I wanted to say this was just a high level mechanical trade by both sides. So Imp, this big rocket that you see, is actually going to go and chunk Name. Name has the healing debuff on him, and Mata heals Imp at the same time that the rocket hits him. So Name is really chunked. Imp baits this. Actually, he's not really baiting this hook. FZZF is just playing really well, and he's going to hook Imp mid jump, and Imp is going to heal before he gets the ignite onto him. So he's going to have the full heal, and Mata is going to get a double knockup, and he's going to get a bubble onto Name. So this is super good. So Name is not attacking for a good like 2 seconds. Meanwhile, Imp just got 2 auto attacks, and if you're a bot lane player, you know auto attacks are everything and how many auto attacks you get. So like if both AD carries manage to get 5 auto attacks, and right as one AD carries backing off the fight, another AD carry gets the extra auto attack, so the AD carry who got 6 auto attacks is going to win that trade. And also if you count the creeps too, Mata with the AoE wave clear, and also Imp with some AoE cleared more creeps, so they had more creeps and creep advantage onto their side. And this solo kill, or not solo kill, but duo kill by Imp and Mata is going to allow them to snowball the lane really, really heavily onto their side. So next we're going to have Dandy, and he waits super patiently for this gank. Prior to this, he waits actually 30 seconds to pull this gank off, and he's looking to gank top again after he already snowballed Looper. So Looper, right now, like Koreans really love to get their top lane going. Meanwhile, in China, it's all about ganking for your AD carry. And right now, you can see Clear trying to make something happen on the bot side of the map. Clear is so used to all the ganks coming in the bot side, whereas like from teams like OMG and from teams like Starhorn Royal Club, who are just like gotta gank bot, gotta make sure Name doesn't go off, and gotta make sure UZI or San doesn't feed, or UZI gets enough gold to be able to compete with Name come into the late game. But it ends up being that no one's actually there to gank bot, and Clearlove went and got some deep wards into Samsung White's jungle, and after the kill top, Danny gets ahead because of the Zillion experience, and he just goes and gets the same deep wards, so that all that time that Clearlove spent, or that Dandy spent top lane while Clearlove was getting deep wards, then he gets those same deep wards and a kill for his team. So Clearlove just got out jungled over there and out pressured because of the stylistic differences. Next, we're gonna go into 28:35. So Imp baits EDG by just walking over here and walking past his ward, and he very aggressively jumps forward after EDG walks forward to go into Mata because EDG sees that Imp is zoned out from the creep wave, and if Imp wants to walk back into the creep wave, he's going to have to take damage from Nami, or from Name actually, and Mata gives Name just the tip, so he barely hits Name on the very edge of the tidal wave, and Imp gets the slow onto Name. FZZF plays him backwards, he gets exhausted, which really isn't that good coming from Mata, but I think he just wanted to slow him long enough for Dandy to show up and get the kill. So after the solo kill, I think bot lane was put on pretty much tilt, and Samsung White got full control of that lane. And if you just look at the builds, Name has an extra, like, I don't know, 20 AD onto Imp, but now Imp got level lead because of the solo kills, and Name actually is ahead in CS, and Imp has an Avarice blade, so it's like if Imp doesn't crit, he's not gonna be able to outdo Name in trade. So this is just really excellent play by Imp and Mata, and they're gonna be able to chunk this turn. I think they might be able to take it out actually. So next we're going to go into Samsung White's invade. They actually invade over here really aggressively, and Pawn and Dandy get overconfident, and FZZF plays out of his mind in this next few moments because FZZF gets a nice hook onto Pawn to lock him up long enough after Klulov's knockup so that Pawn can't ult himself. And you gets the kill. FZZF flays Dandy backwards, so Dandy's ignited as well, so Dandy can't ult, and his ult on cooldown. He flashes the Orianna ult, and right here FZZF plays like a monster. He lays the lantern for you, and he flashes the moment you takes the lantern, so it takes him the extra distance, and he flays Dandy backwards, and Dandy's also ignited, so there's true vision on him while he ulted, and Looper had to flash because Coral was on the other side, and Coral also has his flash. Looper didn't have his ult up at that time. Right now he does have it up though, so anyways, it was just a really good play by EDG to catch out Samsung White on a really over-aggressive play. So yep, you could just see Klulev double knocking up both people, and FZZF is going to get a nice hook onto Pawn, so Pawn can't get an ultimate off, because Zillion can't get his spells off when he's CC'd. Next we're going to have an objective trade where Samsung White at this point, like the previous dragon, it was an early game dragon, so Samsung White didn't value it as much as getting their top laner ahead, because when the top laner ahead is, he can exert more pressure, and he can and by pressure I mean teleport pressure, so he can potentially teleport into the bot lane and turn that 2v2 into a 3v2, and then they kill bot lane and they take a free turret, and they take another free turret, and they take a free dragon, so they trade the early dragon for the ability to have their top laner be able to outduel, and Looper ends up getting baited into a 3v1 where they do take turret. And what ends up happening is Samsung White takes a later dragon, so this dragon is worth more gold because dragon's a higher level, and what ends up happening off of this is Samsung White just loses 100 gold off their gold lead, so it's not really that big of a deal. So as we jump very much forward into this game, right over here, we have this next level face check by Samsung White. So EDG has been in this Baron Cove for like 10 or 20 seconds, and they're looking to just get a pick, right? If anyone knows anything about China, it's that there's a lot of Baron dancing and a lot of vision control. It goes into just getting control over Baron Pit, and the Chinese teams are very, very good about baiting Baron, but also very, very poor at taking Baron bait. Like, they always do it. Koreans, on the other hand, are going to be more skeptical into kind of face checking Baron, I want to say. So Danny and Mata do this next level face check, and they put wards on two flanks at the same time. So EDG sees Dandy and Imp, and probably not as well as they should be because of the Oracle lens, but they did see him previously, and Mata comes at the same time as someone else does to drop the ward or the trinket. I'm pretty sure it's Imp's trinket. Actually, yeah, so it is Imp's trinket. So there's 3 people right now, and EDG's communication is probably like get one, and the communication wasn't on point, and Name actually autos Baron as they're leaving. So EDG is going to take a bunch of Baron damage, and I actually do a team fight breakdown of this video. So I'm just going to go over this video really quickly. And if you want to watch the breakdown, it's in my channel. Rumble places his ult over here to force everyone into the Nami ultimate. 3 people get knocked up. There was a flash by Mana so that he gets the bubble over here. People get really chunked by Pawn's AoE damage and by Imp's static shiv. Coral gets zoned off from the rest of his team. He gets the ball onto him, and he doesn't get necessarily the best Orianna ultimate, U that is, and Clearlove and Coral re-engage to try to make this something out of this fight, but it doesn't work out, and Imp gets the resets because he gets Clearlove, and he gets FCZF over here with the jump reset that he got. Looper wards across the wall, and Samsung White ends up taking the Baron, but Imp goes crazy a little while later because EDG bites off a lot more than they can chew, so they try to face check. Imp gets a crit, he ults both of them, so you could just see the red bars onto EDG, and Pawn comes in here with the bomb. Imp kills U, and the AoE bomb damage kills Name, so Imp and Pawn just go crazy, and Pawn ults Imp, and now there's double buffs on 2 members of Samsung White, which is really, really good coming into this mid game. So now they're up 7k, and this kind of gold lead, before they were up 2k, that's a gold lead that you could come back from if you're EDG, but now that it's 7k, like this is when it comes to the point of a mid game where people, that 7k is things like Infinity Edges, it's things like static shiz, it's things like death caps that start turning fights around, and also things like Rod of Ages when they're stacking that teams are having. So next we have actually small comebacks by EDG, where Pawn gets caught and the rest of Samsung White is not grouped up to take down the low turret bot lane. However, because 5 people are bottom for EDG, Imp gets a free push top lane, so it's not really that bad, and Samsung White ends up trading a death for a turret top lane, and it wouldn't have been a turret if Imp had not been so far ahead. If someone was able to solo Imp, someone would have been able to stay top against this, but Samsung White has an incredibly powerful tool on their hands to be able to just knock down turrets like that, and they don't take advantage of this, and Samsung White could have ended this game a lot sooner, and I'll point it out, but I don't know. Samsung White, I think at this point, was just toying around with EDG. So Imp and Mata, whoops, let me sneeze. Oh, bless me. So anyways, Imp and Mata are rotating top lane while Pawn goes in super hard. He speeds himself up and he goes hard for Name, and Zilean doesn't have that much DPS, and I don't think Zilean's not going to... I mean, yeah, Zilean's bombs do a lot of damage at this point, but he doesn't have the Baron buff. And Name does have a small chunk of lifesteal, and he's going to he actually double crit and triple crit Pawn. Pawn's going to revive himself, so he ends up baiting Looper. Looper uses his ult to try and save Pawn. FZZF and Nami are chunked. Pawn's going to get chunked out, and he's going to die for this. A lot of summoners are burned, flash and heal. Looper's going to get baited, and he's going to end up turning around and get the kill onto you. And so he turns the 3v2 into a 1-for-2 actually, so which isn't that bad, but Samsung White ends up taking a big chunk off the turret, and they end up burning a few summoners middle, which is good, and they burn a lot of EDG summoners, and also EDG doesn't get anything off these kills, so they don't get any objectives, but what they do is they do stall Samsung White's push, and it's good and bad for Samsung White to get summoners. When it's good in the sense that they're getting summoners, it's bad in the sense that they could have been closing out the game over here, and it's just a little something that Samsung White needs to work on if they want to kind of close out games against their sister team Blue, which arguably is their next competition, or the next competition, Blue and White Shield. So over here we have Imp take out a solo turret, or solo take out a turret, and this is really, really bad for EDG. So this is signaling like that Samsung White can close out this game at any time, because Imp can pretty much solo Kuro while taking turret for like 2 or 3 shots, and this is really bad for EDG because now the tankiest member on your team can't even stand up to Imp, and Clearlove isn't even that tanky because he decided to opt for a Sightstone and lots of pink wards to go for vision control for EDG, because EDG other members need to get damage items, so they place a lot of the vision control burden onto Clear Love himself. Mm. And over here we have the exact moment where Samsung White can close out the game if they had aligned themselves properly. So right over here, you have 4 or 5 members of EDG middle lane. In the middle, you have an open in bot lane, and you have the rest of Samsung White in the middle. What could have happened is Samsung White could have closed out the game by sending Looper topside to split push and to ward Baron, so they could have baited EDG to move towards Baron. Or they could have baited EDG to go towards Looper, and they don't have that many teleport cancels, so Looper could have easily teleported bot lane, or Looper could have stopped the ports of EDG with his ultimate and with his AoE. Meanwhile, the rest of Samsung White rushes down bot lane with the speed from Nami and the speed from Zillion with Imp to go take the free inhib, and they could have just rushed down the base, and it would have forced the 5v5 into either EDG's base or at the Baron, or if Samsung White was like kind of retreating. But what ends up happening is that they try to have Tristana split push for Samsung White, while the rest try to mess with EDG, prevent them from doing Baron, which doesn't really work out. So like at this exact moment, the game should have been over at 30 minutes, but Samsung White doesn't recognize that open inhib is just pretty much free for Imp to push. So next, we're gonna go into the next Baron fight, where Samsung White is kind of wants to control Baron, and I don't think Samsung White actually needs Baron to win because of how far ahead Imp is. Imp's 503. He's on even CS level with Name, but Imp has the advantage of having a Zillion, so he pretty much has a GA in addition to this Doran's Blade. Meanwhile, Name's still trying to get a defensive item when he has his Negatron cloak on him. So Coral gets slowed to prevent the engage, but he still goes anyways, and Samsung White kind of messes up their engage, and it relies on Nami ult catching some people, but what ends up happening is Nami ult splits up the team, so Nami separated from the rest of the team, but it doesn't matter because everyone flashes or dashes over, and Kuro is cut off from his team, and they end up killing Kuro, but there was enough AoE damage done onto Samsung White that when they re-engage onto the Baron, Clear Love is enough to just scare him off. So it was a good pick by Samsung White, but if they had not messed up their engage, that would have been game right there. And it was really well played by EDG for them to stop the Baron by Samsung White and to kind of continue their chances at winning this game, or at least trying to come back. So next we have another crucial fight where Imp actually kind of throws this game for his team. Sorry, a little bit tired from staying up and watching the World Games. So Samsung White goes for this next Baron. Imp's across the wall, and he's shooting it, dealing damage. He's dealing 500 crits onto it. There's a Rumble ult which goes across, the same thing with the Nami ult, so they both hit the same person, and it's both hitting the tank, and it pushes everyone away from EDG. Meanwhile, Nami is getting DPS on because he's Lucian and he can do that. Pawn is zoning him off and put some bombs onto him. What Dandy does is really stupid because Dandy and Imp both jump in. Meanwhile, Pawn is up on the top side of this fight, and Imp and Dandy are going to die, and they get really overconfident, and U is going to get Lantern from this side to this side, so it's now going to be a 4v2, and Imp's going to get instantly blown up. He got knocked up, and he got hooked by FCZF. I don't know if you can see it, but FCZF is playing on fire, and FCZF is going to box over here as well as the Jarvan box, so there's this area that makes it really, really hard for Samsung White to re-engage and to help Imp on, and you can just see the red bar on Imp. He gets instantly killed because Name crits him a little bit. Name ends up getting some crits onto Mata. He ends up getting a few more crits. Pawn dies, and he gets the Zillion all onto himself. Pawn's extremely squishy, and Looper and Dandy end up running away, and it's not really worth it to just have Baron on your top laner in your jungle, and they're blinking red. You can see it over here. But that was just a really bad fight by Samsung White, and it was really well played by EDG to recognize that Imp misjumped, and if Imp had jumped more so into the Baron pit by pawn and Dandy, or if EDG had just disengaged, Samsung White would have won the game off that Baron. They could have just straight up pushed bottom, then gone push mid, then gone and pushed top. If they wanted to, they could have pushed bottom and pushed mid and gone for the win. Or they could have died with Rumble ult, which they do later on, and I'll point that out. So next we have at 54, where EDG has moved across the map as a unit. So like you can see them all clumped up over here, and Curl actually splits from them. And they're just trying to get vision control where they have no turrets. However, Curl went bot to shove it out to prevent Samsung White from getting that inhib. Curl's going to get really chunked over here, and he's going to walk over here, and Thresh is going to toss the lantern to save him. But this is going to be really bad because the whole entirety of EDG moved downwards this way. Meanwhile, Samsung White is moving this way, and they're going to mirror each other, walking across back into EDG's base. So this is going to allow Samsung White to run up the lane and to chunk out the inhib. And EDG cannot turn around and fight Samsung White down here because they can't fight in the jungle. You don't want to fight a Rumble in the jungle because of the way Rumble ult works. And if Rumble gets the ult in the bush, you can't use the bush to help yourself kind of evade some of the auto attack damage. So Imp got a total of like 3 auto attacks, and the turret's at 3/4. So Klov goes to re-engage. He knocks up Pawn. Mata is going to get a pretty nice Nami ult over here. Looper and Danny are going to get chunked by the Nami ultimate. So another shockwave on just one person. Like, Yu only gets one-man shockwaves this whole series, which is really unimpressive. Mata does get hooked by FCZF, but because of the tidal wave and the Nami bubble, Yu and FCZF are both stunned, and Rumble ult's about to come across EDG. Yu gets exhausted and Mata cleanses himself. So this is just good mechanics by Mata. Pawn needs to ult, or he needs to actually support Imp, and Imp needs to get in there. Name's taking a fair amount of damage. Yu's exhausted. Clear jumps back in and then he flashes out. Like, Chinese junglers just love to put the Jarvan terrain over here. So now Samsung White is forced to go down to this bot side against Kuro. Cleov dies to the bomb over here. Kuro is re-engaging onto the enemy team. Imp extends too far forward. Kuro plays this really well, and he comes up really huge. He gets the hook, or not hook, but re-engage onto Imp, the twisted advance, and he knocks Imp back into his team where he takes a huge amount of damage. Imp is going to knock away Nami, but because Yu's just going to auto attack, he's going to remove his ball onto Imp and ignite him. Imp's going to die again. FCZF gets bombed, and Kuro's about to come up really huge for Samsung White, actually, because he's going to try and re-engage, and he's going to end up just suiciding and killing himself. So there he goes. He tries to re-engage. He got caught, and Samsung White is just going to take the inhib, and they're going to try to push for the win, but it's not going to work out. So next we have where Samsung White actually goes for the win. So Samsung White is toying with EDG, and EDG at this point is like, alright, cool, we just have to force Samsung White off the Baron, and if we force Samsung White off the Baron, we win. So what they do is they're playing around, toying around with Samsung White. Samsung White are walking back and forth, EDG are walking back and forth, and it's all about who goes and does Baron. EDG thinks that they won, or not that they won, but that they're in a good position because they forced Samsung White off of Baron. Like, in China, if you prevent someone from doing Baron, they're not going to rotate up like this. EDG is not expecting Samsung White to come this hard for their upper turret. Instead, they expected Samsung White, like a Chinese team, to just continue to take Baron and continue to bait Baron to be in the back of the pit where the EDG doesn't have vision. But Samsung White rushes down, takes the inhib, and this is all important because Clearlove cannot, or not Clearlove, but Kuro cannot teleport to this ward because he's trying to prevent the super creeps from taking the Nexus turrets, and he's so pressured that he can't walk back into base to get the home guard teleport engage. So another team fight's going to break out right over here where Clearlove is going to engage a fight. Actually, he's not going to engage. FCZF is going to hook Looper, and this is really important to Samsung White's team comp because Samsung White doesn't have a tank, so they're going to need proper juggling of aggro with Dandy ultimate. So Dandy's going to have to ult really properly as soon as people start focusing him, and Looper's going to have to Zanya's, and he's going to have to shield himself to negate enough damage when people start focusing focusing him to act as quasi tanks. So right over here, Mata's gonna get a really good ultimate onto three people, the three frontline members of EDG. Looper's gonna Zhonya's himself, and he's gonna kill you. I think he just kills him by his ultimate. Danny's gonna jump in to zone out the back line. Curl's gonna get bombed a little bit. Clearlove is gonna ultimate. He doesn't have flash, so he has to immediately let the Jarvan barrier fall down. Imp jumps in from the resets. So at this point, the game is over. FCZF dies, and he misses the hook, and the game is over at this point, and it was well played by Samsung White. There was a few moments where Samsung White could have closed out the game sooner, but I think they were just toying with EDG. And some people want to say they got cocky, but I don't think so. I think they were just playing really aggressive, and that's just the way Samsung White plays. So anyways, thanks for watching, and this was like my first time kind of just reviewing a whole game besides the CLG game. And I kind of didn't do this one with the purpose of like how Samsung White could have like won the game or how EDG could have won the game. I just wanted to review the game and kind of break down the game on a different level than what's probably offered by some of the analysis or what's offered by Jat or Kobe or whoever may be casting at the time.